Even nobody's speaking as of yet, we'll start in a few seconds. So you're good. Okay, we'll get started. Everyone, welcome. This is our first meeting for the year 2024. Happy New Year. And there are a couple of announcements before we get rolling. First thing is this meeting is being recorded. So whatever you put in the chat will be recorded. If you're not comfortable, you need to exit and we'll put up the recording in our YouTube channel. If you want to get a notification or you can subscribe to that channel, the link is coming up. So if you want to speak to this user group or you have any suggestion, anything you like, anything you did not like, please send us an email, dba-VUG@outlook.com. We monitor that all the time. We do meet on the second Wednesday, like today at the noon East Coast, and on the fourth Wednesday, we'll be meeting on the Pacific West Coast time, just to be fair to our friends on the West Coast. We only take break in November for Thanksgiving and in December for the holidays. Other than that, there will be total 22 meetings this year. And like I said, recordings will be available. Tracy has agreed to record this in our YouTube channel. This is the URL, or you can just go to youtube.com and search for DBA-VUG channel and subscribe there. These are some future sessions. So the exciting thing we're trying to do between March and May, there will be 6 sessions. They are part of a series that if someone is working in on-premises and are not sure how to upskill yourself for cloud stuff, right? For cloud databases and infrastructure and all that, this will be a good series. So they will start in March and we'll go for 6 sessions consecutively. And these are, as you can see in this, and some of these are already published in Meetup. Some I still didn't get time. So you can already RSVP for this. And there are some other, awesome speakers coming up, as you can see here. We are pretty much booked almost. I think I already have a speaker in August, but pretty soon we'll be booked for the whole year. These are a couple of other community-driven events happening. Most of these are a one-day free training all over the world. And there are SQL Beats, which is happening in London in person. I don't know if they will have an online like a virtual attendee probably. So you can look up those. If you go to SQLSaturday.com and datasaturdays.com, you will find details about all of this. And I don't want to take any more time. Thank you, Tracy. And before I hand over, you cannot use your mic or camera, but you can always put your questions in the chat. We have agreed with Tracy. Tracy has breaks in between sections, and either me or Survi will read out the questions and comment to Tracy. The meeting will end at 1 o'clock, but if you want to hang out and have further questions, Tracy will entertain those. So I will keep quiet, stop sharing, and then Tracy is going to take over. Thank you, Tracy.
No problem. And just so y'all know, you can do bits online just so you can see me again, if nothing else. Oh, really, to see other people. On to something else. So this is my session on Perf Tune Your Life with Atomic Habits, Optimizing Success Through Daily Habits. I developed this presentation because, well, I read Atomic Habits and used it a lot to develop habits and routines in my life and helped really automate stuff and get my life humming with different things. And given all the different things that I'm involved in volunteer wise and otherwise, it became necessary for me to kind of automate my life as far as just simple things so that I had more time to make room in my brain to make decisions for more complicated things rather than having to do simple things like remembering when to pick out my clothes and set up routines to remember to set up things to exercise or pack things to go places and stuff like that. Having all the routines set up for this stuff freed up my space in my brain to worry about more complex things rather than the simple things that you can just, get on autopilot. So that's kind of where this presentation came from. I have incorporated lots of database puns into this presentation, hence why it starts with perf tune. So it kind of gets corny at some points, but it's kind of fun at the same time. So it's based on this book by James Clear. And like I said, I got lots of database puns, but I've used this to kind of, I used a lot of this stuff to help me run a 5K and eventually a half marathon and other things along the way. So a little bit about me. I can be found at databasesuperhero.com. There's my email address. I volunteered for the Guarding My Litem program in North Carolina with foster kids, advocating for them in court for the last 20 years. I've advocated for 67 children over that time. I'm currently the president of the board of directors for the charity Foster Family Alliance in North Carolina. Other than that, I do a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm a volunteer-holic, as I put it. So I usually can just be found trying to make a difference somewhere because I like helping people. So on to other things. The agenda for today is pretty simple. I pared it back from doing this at Summit so we can try to get it down into an hour. But we're just going to go through, trying to understand the concept, how to set up goals and habits, making them effective, optimizing it, and how to handle failures and with a backup and recovery routine, and then wrap up with more questions at the end. So I made this statement to to get us started. We want to grab your lunch, get ready, sit back, and select your goals, insert effective habits, delete obstacles and setbacks, and update your life for success. Do y'all see what I did there? I made a crud statement. See? Database puns. So first section is going to be initialize our connection and understand the concept. And basically what I want you to do today is kind of think of yourselves as programmers in your own life and being able to establish a connection with your database of life to communicate and manipulate the data in your life to be able to query it and use it to set up habits and routines. And once you're able to do that, you'll be able to figure out how to do things and optimize your life to be able to set up things for success. So to start with the concept, basically the definition of a habit is just things you do that are small daily actions. And they might seem insignificant at first, but they accumulate over time to make significant progress towards your personal growth. And you can think of them just as queries of your daily life in your database that just run in the background, sometimes without you noticing. There's lots of queries that run against our database without us noticing. And unlike routines, these habits can be automatic responses that we develop through repetition. Just like when you walk into a dark room, you just automatically turn on a light switch. You sometimes don't have conscious thought about some of these habits that you automatically do. That is technically a habit, is to turn on a light switch when you walk into a room. You just do it without thinking. So let's take a closer look at some of these building blocks for success that kind of set up a well-indexed system in your database life that can turn into positive habits to help you achieve long-term success. So positive versus negative habits, they contributed to your personal long-term success, like eating healthy or setting aside time for reading is positive. Negative habits, on the other hand, can hinder your well-being, such as smoking or procrastination. How does this kind of relate to our brains? Our habits have neural pathways, and over time they become automatic, like that light switch example. And there's very fascinating science behind how these things form and solidify our habits. But in context of the day, we can think of habits just as, like I said, they're regular queries that run our lives. They help us build efficient habits that optimize our queries in our database system, which is our lives. And our goals are kind of like tables. And our habits are the queries that can retrieve and manipulate our tables and manipulate our goals and help us achieve things. So basically, in summary, you can take and use indexes to optimize database searches, and habits optimize our search for a better life. So that's kind of how I've related it back to databases. So how can database principles reflect on our routine behavior? Like I said, you can think of database tables as life goals. These are long-term objectives that you desire to achieve. They're structured and organized. These tables can hold data or objectives you want to achieve, connecting them are habits and queries that we want to access, and we want to modify these tables. And you can achieve these over time by connecting to the database and systematically going through these purposes and querying them and seeing what happens, and being purposeful and systematic about how you approach them. But habits of SQL queries, you retrieve the data and you use the queries to modify and access your tables to achieve your habits, and you query the data and you get that connection to this system, and you figure out how you want to systematically go through and do your personal development, and we can become more deliberate in our actions, therefore becoming more strategic in how we plan things, and we can have more success in our endeavors. And you can ponder over this analogy as we move forward and think about our daily routines and your goals and how your life might apply some of these principles to the database to enhance your life. And we'll explore further how habits form our core structures of our daily existence, and how we can optimize them for success. And one thing that Bill Gates says, we always overestimate the change that will occur in the next 2 years and underestimate the change that will occur in the next 10. So don't be lulled into inaction, because when you don't think about making changes over time, sometimes we just sit around and do nothing. So making small changes and proceeding forward with making your habits lets us do something. So always set your goals and your habits up so that you're always doing something instead of nothing. So that's leads us into our next section, is not being lulled into action, and setting up our tables and goals versus habits. Was there any questions about that first section?
No, not
Okay.
yet. There's nothing, Tracy.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to double check. So we're going to discuss goals as our framework, and not get too rigid on our actions, but our habits are kind of like dynamic queries and processes that we go through, and we're going to establish clear goals and build our daily habits that lead us from there. And we're going to set up our lives tables and align them with actionable goals. So the importance of habits. When we look at a database analogy, again, we're looking at queries that can retrieve in our database and retrieve the desired results. That's what our queries are doing, is we're going to go in and extract what we want out of our tables and retrieve what we actually want to do, and that's what makes them very vital. So first, our habits are our building blocks to give us routines, and they structure our path to success. Just as queries help us retrieve specific data from database tables, habits guide us toward our goals and shape our behaviors and actions. If we don't have the habits we want, then we don't make it somewhere. So if we don't set up our habits for exercise, sometimes it's easier to get up and go to the gym in the morning if we go ahead and set out our clothes to get us dressed in the morning, or set out our water bottle and set up our shoes, or set up and go out for a run in the morning if everything's already set up to go. Sometimes it's easier to get the kids out the door in the morning to school if all their backpacks are already set, their lunches are packed, their breakfast is ready to go. And if you set up these things ahead of time, the morning gets less chaotic because there's less things you got to do in the morning, and therefore you can get to work on time. So all these habits add up to things that allow you to succeed in the morning, because you're less rushed around doing things, and setting up that morning routine and all these habits that build up on each other sets you up for success for the day, because then you're not rushing around doing things. So you can think of these life goals as tables that are storing your, oops, wrong way, storing your aspirations and dreams. And these habits are queries that enable you to interact with all these tables and pull out your success just step by step. So these individual queries are there to pull these out and cultivate good habits that lead us, not only lead us towards success, but help us achieve our goals and help us improve our overall well-being over time. Because again, if we have these habits set up again for like a morning routine, we can have less stress in the morning because we have all these things set up to just let our morning get very smooth. So one thing I really liked about, one quote I liked out of the book was, every action you take is a vote towards the person you wish to become. So if you take an action towards going to the gym in the morning, that's an action towards being a gym person or a person that's healthier for exercise. But if you take the opposite action of just staying home, that's a vote towards somebody that doesn't do it. So you just take one step towards it. That means you are towards that person versus not towards that person. One thing he did in the book was he said he was going to do a push up a day, and just one push up a day towards, and then it led to him doing more. So if you set the action of you're just going to at least do a minimum, then maybe you will end up doing more. So you're going to go for a 5-minute walk, might lead to you doing a 20-minute walk, or something basic. Just set up a small goal, and it gives you the action that votes you towards the person you wish to become, and you might end up doing more towards that person you wish to become, but at least you took a vote towards the person you want to become instead of voting towards the person you didn't want to become. So how do we structure these goals towards success? So we understand that we want to structure our goals and uh, structure the role of goals towards life. And basically, we're going to be setting up blueprints for our aspirations and our desires. But we're going to be connecting them to the database as our goals and our tables. And the goals are our containers that hold our data of what we want to achieve. And by structuring this way, we get benefits of having a well structured goals, because the goals won't be mere wishes and desires. They'll be a foundation that contains what we want to achieve. By doing this, we get increased focus and direction. We get efficiency in achieving our objectives and a clear path to success instead of just something that's, not tangible and we can't see. So if we do this, we have the ability to figure out what we want to do and have it very organized. So we want to set up a blueprint on how we want to get there by having our goals structured sort of like tables with, primary keys and referential integrity and foreign keys and good data types and things that define what we actually want to do. And one of the ways to do that is, I know most people have heard, is the SMART framework, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time bound. And you want to connect your habits this way and ask yourself a key set of questions about whether you can achieve these goals or not by using this framework. I won't go over this because most people have heard of this, and you can look it up on the internet and find it. But you want to, achieve your habits or your queries using the right goals or tables, and so you can extract meaningful, results from these and see how they contribute to your life goals along the way, and make sure that you're achieving the goals you want to do. So this is the framework that most people use to set up goals, and you want to make sure you follow, most of the time follow this to figure out what you actually want to achieve. So as Tony Robbins says, setting goals is the first step in turning the invisible into visible. So if you have something that you can't see that you want to achieve, the best way to find it and be able to see what you want to do is to actually, put it in writing so you can actually see what you want to achieve. And that's why some people make vision boards so they can actually see their future. And if you set a goal for it and you write it down, you can actually see the future as far as what you want to do. So we all know what queries and databases are. They're a way for us to retrieve specific information, and they help us manage the database and get what we want to have. So our habits are repeated behaviors that yield specific outcomes, just like a query. And by comparing that, we know that when we do a habit, we get specific outcome, just like we do a query. And that helps us write a query for our life where we get the exact same thing back and forth every time. So we get the same results. Like when we turn on the light switch, we get light, we can see in the dark, we don't trip over things that might be on the floor, and we can find things that may be hiding in the room and things like that. So some examples of some habits as queries is like, getting regular exercise is querying your life for health and fitness. Reading daily is querying for knowledge and personal growth, or just enjoyment if you're doing fiction. Healthy eating is querying for your well-being and energy levels. And it's important to have well-defined habits and queries because, there's a need for clear and consistent habits. Like I was mentioning, the morning routine of having your stuff set up for exercise and having, things set up for if you have kids, getting them out the door or getting yourself out the door if you still work in an office. If you have all those things set up in the morning, you're less likely to be stressed out getting out the door, less likely to be running late for work, more likely to just have your stress levels down and feel more relaxed when you get to work or starting your day, because all these things have been smooth sailing in the morning. Everybody's humming along and nobody's rushed to do anything, and you got your exercise in and you got those endorphins from things and you're just ready to go. So and there's no conflicts about what has happened. So it's just a clear that having tools and strategies to develop effective habits is a good thing to do, because it clears up that mental space as far as trying to figure out all the little things that you need to take care of in the morning or at night or any other time that you set up routines to take that incorporate a bunch of habits. So how to set yourself up for success is one. Some of the building blocks for success is one is understanding the relationship between goals and habits. And goals are specifically the tables that actually hold the habits. The habits are individual things that are in the table that build to your goals. So examples are running a 5K. You don't 5K is the goal, so that's the table. Inside there would be habits as far as like getting up in the morning, and then you had your clothes set out the night before. You had a plan for what you were going to do that day. You had your water bottles set up. You had, your clothes laid out, and then you had a set time to get up and go run. You went out and ran. You came back. You had your shower ready to go. Your change of clothes ready to go. You had your race registered for. All these different things that you do to get ready for that 5K you do. Then you have an alignment, making sure your habits align with your broader life goals. If you have no desire to actually run, why is the 5K on there? Or you have no desire to be healthy? Why, is it maybe you should be cycling? Maybe you should just be walking. You don't have to run to get exercise. You could do anything else. You could play basketball, whatever you enjoy doing. It doesn't have to be a particular thing. And the other thing is to be consistent. You want to make sure your habits have a repeatable pattern, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly. They have to work together with what works in your life. And again, make sure they align with your broader goals in life. If it doesn't fit in your life, exnay it and get it out the door and spend time doing something else. And then other strategies are to make sure you identify clear goals. Going back to that SMART method, you want to make sure they identify with different areas in your life. Make sure you can make sure they are related to career, health, or relationships. Those could be your particular tables. Instead of just 5K, you could just have it in health or exercise, whatever that table of yours is. That could just be one thing that's in there. 5K could be in there, or it could be, triathlon. I've done a few of those. Then you want to define your habits as queries, define what your desired outcomes in each area are. And those could be your queries, and you can put your habits in there and query it out and find out what you could put in there that can help you achieve that particular goal. Then you want to create a particular framework for it and develop a structure for implementing these habits on that daily, weekly, and monthly basis. Then one of the key things to do that we do as database people is we monitor and adjust things. We optimize, we change things, we tweak things. Our queries aren't always the best after we get a million rows in there. So we must regularly review our queries and see how they're performing and make necessary adjustments and make sure things are working right. So an example of how this works is, our goal can in our table can be improving physical health. Our habit could be committing to a daily 30-minute exercise routine. Notice I didn't say running because, a lot of people we don't want to do running, just some sort of 30-minute exercise routine. And our monitoring tool can just be keeping track of our exercise and then health metrics to ensure it aligns with our goal. And then over time, we can actually make adjustments and see, is 30 minutes, maybe 30 minutes gets too easy. We want to bump up to 45. Maybe 30 minutes was too hard. We want to bump down to 15 until we get used to 30. But over time, we can actually adjust those. So we go back to atomic habits. And the atomic habits approach is basically making 1% improvements over time. And when you make a 1% improvement over time, just nearly every day, that adds up to a 37% improvement over the entire year. And the example that he used in the book was the Tour de France cycling team in England. They did 1% improvements over time with their cycling gear, what they wore, and all this stuff back in the 80s. And they eventually won the Tour de France doing just tiny little changes. They made sure their bikes were clean. They did all kinds of little changes. So if you break all the habits into just teeny tiny things and just change a little bit at a time, you just end up with a 37 times better at the end of the year. And that just sounds like a lot to me. I mean, it's just tiny little things. It's just like, they're atomic approaches, just breaking things down into little atoms and just trying to be a little bit better every day at something. That's why you get habits and just do something small. Just add a little habit. Once you get used to it, add something else and just build on it. So when it comes to creating an atomic habit system, you should start small, of course. You focus on manageable actions. You build consistency. You create a routine to perform these actions daily. You keep track by measuring your performance and your progress and your growth and adjust as needed. And one of the big things, which I think I repeat a couple of times in this presentation, is to celebrate your success. Reward yourself on your small wins along the way, because sometimes that reinforces your positive behavior. So if you don't do that, sometimes it's very hard to do this. So one way to apply this to daily habits is, again, I'm just going to use brushing your teeth as an example. When you try and teach this to little kids, it gets a little difficult sometimes. But you kind of you tie it into them going to bed. You teach them when they go in there that first thing when they get ready to go to bed, that before they go to bed, the first thing they should do is go brush their teeth. And then when they do that, they go to bed. And then after, if they've done it every day for a week, that builds the consistency that they did it every day. It's just one small thing they got to do. You measure their progress by making sure they did it every day. And then after a week, you can reward them with, I don't know, don't give them something sweet because it's brushing your teeth, but read them a extra bedtime story so that it gets that reinforcement in there. But small habits don't add up, they compound over time, hence that atomic approach up to 37 times. And that's the power of the atomic approach. So that's why you got to have patience and persistence so that these small actions can help your personal and professional life. So, any questions? All right, on to indexing our life and building effects in person, because we're database people. So everybody understands the concept of indexing because, well, you've been to a library, you do databases. So I'm not going to go over that, but the importance of an index is it helps increase our efficiency and ability to access things. Because in a library, it helps us figure out where the book is. Otherwise, the books would just be anywhere and we wouldn't be able to find anything. In a database, it helps us get to that record fast. And when we apply these to our daily life, that helps us find things in our life faster. So when we go into our daily life, the index is a life, basically, or your life's aspects. So we could break these down into categories like work, family, personal development, and you could break those down even further into different aspects of work, different aspects of your family, different aspects of personal development. So it's not just these general broad categories. And you want to go in from there and prioritize your goals in each one of those categories by assigning importance to those various goals and habits, because some goals aren't quite as important. So you don't want to do those first. You want to make sure you do the things that are most important. And then you want to start mapping out your routines by creating a system that connects your daily routines to your overall life goals. So again, going back to, hey, I've never ran a half marathon maybe, and you want to start that process, you'll want to set that up as, if that's an important goal to you, make sure you set that up as important enough where you set up the routine to set up your stuff to be ready for you in the morning to go out and run in the morning or whenever you're going to do it, so that you wake up, boom, it's ready to go. You're ready to go out the door, no hesitation. You got your plan ready, you know how far to run, you know how long it's going to take. You got your breakfast ready when you come home. So that way you got all the time aspects set up and you're ready to go. Another thing is, if you want to get a certification exam done, you map out a plan, you know how long you're going to spend each day studying, you know when you're going to do it, you know where you're going to do it out, and you make a habit of doing it, and you got a time frame you're going to do it in, so that you got a daily habit of learning something, or even just learning cloud skills, because that's where everything going, or the new skill to learn, or learning anything in particular that you need to learn. You map out a plan and you set aside time to do it daily, or 3 or 4 times a week, and you make a learning objective or a plan, and you stick to it, and you have a daily habit of doing it. And then after a couple weeks, you have an award set up for you that says, hey, I stuck to it. Let's go out and have ice cream. Ice cream's my favorite award, just in case y'all didn't know that. That's a way to my heart. So the benefits of indexing your life is it saves you time. You can get to things faster. You have increased focus, because you know what areas to focus, what are your priorities to focus on. And you know it aligns with your values, because you know what actions are for your long-term success. Hey, yeah, this is important to me, so I actually want to do this. If you're doing things that aren't actually important to you, you're going to lose your habits and not actually stick to them, and you're going to get discouraged. So practical steps you can take to create your life's indexes is identify those major categories in your life. You can start with work, health, relationships, and build out from there and decide which things you want to work on. Then rank your goals and habits based on importance and impact in your life that you think are important. And then start designing your daily routines around those and integrate habits that reflect what's important in your life. So when we go to building habits like indexing systems, understanding the parallel between them is, they're more organized, efficient, and purpose driven. Much like, the indexing systems in a database, we're allowed to access information more efficiently. We can build the indexing system for habits and live a more organized and intentional life. The components of a habit indexing system, when we form, they require a systematic approach for focusing on organization and efficiency with a specific purpose. So you want to make sure you have your different categories of life defined, like health, career, and family, and prioritize and align them within those categories. So your first step would be building your habit index by identifying those major life categories. Just going back over this, list the habits with each within each category, rank the habits by importance, and align the habits with your goals. So by organizing your habits like an indexing system, this will enable you to live your life intentionally, make informed decisions, and achieve our most important goals efficiently. So we want to make sure our effective routines, when we define our clear objectives, what do you want to achieve with this habit? What does it align with your goal and values? When you create a specific plan, what steps will you take? When and where will you do it? How will you track your progress? You want to make sure you start small. Focus on small, manageable changes first. Make incremental improvements so that you can lead to big results. Use triggers and rewards. Identify cues that will remind you of your habit, like, setting out your clothes in the morning to do something, or setting book bags by the door. Reward yourself for consistent success. Embrace flexibility. It's okay to adapt as you learn what works best for you. Change things around. Be patient and willing to make adjustments. You're not going to be perfect. So if things don't work out at first, adjust to what will work. One of the important things as you build habits is to actually make a routine out of things. Like I said, with that morning routine of setting things by the door, you eventually take habits and build on them and make, a list of things that go together, because one habit by itself doesn't lead to much on its own. It's a list of habits that go together. So you're going to link habits together so that you get an efficient routine. And by doing that, you'll have more clear goals that specifically align to things, and it gives you more actionable steps that give you your concrete daily actions to help you get to your targets. And then you'll have more triggers that will help you do things, because one habit triggers the next habit and initiates all these routines. So like brushing your teeth can trigger flossing. Flossing can trigger going and doing meditation before you go to bed. Meditation can trigger something else that you do before you go to bed, like reading, or and so forth and so forth, and until you finish your nightly routine. And then again, you got to monitor and track regular progress and make adjustments on this whole routine that you created, and see what works and doesn't work, what's taking too much time, what's not taking enough time, what's working to help you with this thing, and develop your reward system to help reinforce these things and sustain momentum. Because without something to reinforce that you're doing a good job, you're probably not going to stick with it. And some examples of routines that you would create would be a daily morning routine that we talked about, waking up, exercise, breakfast, planning the day. A weekly planning routine is my favorite routine because I can review my past week. I can set my goals for the upcoming week, and I can see what's scheduled for the week. My schedule is really complicated, and if I don't review my week, I don't know what I'm doing. And the benefits of an effective routine creation, again, are just, if I have my routines are set up, I have a morning routine, a nightly routine, I got my weekly routine, and I've got different routines for different situations. But what it does is when I have a routine, some of these are just written down, especially the different situation ones. I can pull them out and I can do them, but it gives me a focus that when something happens, I can just go on autopilot. And it gives me the efficiency to just, zoom through something. And I get resilience when I don't have to stress out and think about what I'm doing in a certain situation, because I have my list. Boom, I'm done. I'm through a situation. And it gives me the well-being because I don't have to stress about a situation. I'm just done and I'm through it. And I don't have to worry about whatever's going on at that moment because I'm through it. And some tools and resources you can use for routine creation are apps. There's a lot of apps out there. Like, if you want to get in the habit of drinking water, water now is a good app. Just using a plain old calendar is helpful. I use ClickUp, which is a project management system to just handle my whole life. There's Habit to create a habit app. Most of these are on iOS just because I use iOS. Structured is another calendar type app. Habatica is kind of like a game that's kind of like Minecraft. You get pets and stuff to feed and all kinds of weird stuff in there. So just kind of try to keep things that will keep you accountable. You can use apps, journals, mentors, peer groups, any type of thing. I'm an apps person, so that's why I put mostly apps in there. So a call to action: consider one area of your life where a structured routine could lead to increased efficiency and success. And start planning what you can do today to help impact your own life. So to start building effective routines, the first thing you need is identify what you need to improve. You want to develop that blueprint. Choose the right tools to help you get there. Establish your triggers and rewards. Remember to monitor and adjust. And that's just how you're going to go about implementing your personal index and build those effective routines. So in summary of that section, identify one routine that you can implement today. So on to section 4. We're doing good on time, I think. So optimization and performance tuning, continuous improvement, because we're database people. We got to improve our performance at all times. And so the need for optimization. First, understanding optimization. The definition of optimization is just continued refinement and improvement of our processes. That same thing happens with habits. Sometimes we set up a routine and it's not efficient, like brushing your teeth and flossing. You wouldn't stick meditation in the middle of those two things. That would be inefficient. you know, so different things like that. So in life and databases, optimization is vital for peak performance. Our databases need indexing. We need to write good code in order for it to perform well on our queries. In life, we need to do the same thing. Like I said, we wouldn't make a habit where we do one thing in one room, go to another room and do something, and then come back to that room. We do it all together while we're in the same spot, and then go to another location to do something. We group things together so that we're more efficient. So why would we do more optimization? Mainly the same reasons we do it in our database. One is we want to have more efficiency. We want to streamline things. We want to save energy and time. I mean, who wants their web pages loading slow because the database is slow? We don't want our life loading slow. We want things humming along, and we want time to do other things. We want effectiveness. We want to target our efforts towards high impact activities that lead to better things in our life, better outcomes. I mean, same with our queries. We want the data back that we can use to analyze things so we can make better decisions. And responsiveness. And again, back to that website. Who wants those things slow that load up because our database is slow? We want our life responsive. We want to adjust our strategies so we're more flexible and we can do things. If we're taking on things and we're doing things, we can be more resilient and do things better if we're able to respond better to things. So in database management, we're improving query performance, we're reducing resource usage, we're enhancing our user experience by making things better. In life, we're improving our personal growth by enhancing our skills, maybe our self-awareness, our knowledge. We're achieving our goals when we're doing optimization, by aligning our professional, and we're enhancing our well-being possibly by reducing our stress and possibly our happiness. So, in conclusion, optimization is just a continuous journey, just like in our database world. We're constantly changing things. We might optimize one query today and have to optimize it again in 3 months. But it's all about those small incremental changes that go to long-term benefits, just like we do in a database. So a commitment to optimization just leads to a more productive, fulfilling life in the end. So how do you go about doing a performance analysis on, everything on your life, basically? So first we got to get some performance metrics. First, you got to look at the efficiency of your actions and see how those are. Then you want to look at your resource utilization, what you're doing in your life, what resources are you using to do everything. Look at your time management, where all your time is going. I personally use Toggle to manage a lot of my work time and my personal time and figure out where my time's going on things. If I'm doing anything that takes an amount of time that can be allocated to something, I track it. I'm weird. I know. I've been doing that for years. Um, and you want to make sure all these things, how these things align with your goals. But then you want to also just analyze your current routines and identify the strengths and weaknesses in those current routines. Uh, Pinpoint the opportunities for improvement in your routines and recognize anything that's unproductive. That's probably the hardest part, because sometimes habits you have are ingrained, again, back to being unconscious, like turning on the light switch. You might have some habits that are ingrained that you don't notice that are bad habits. So you got to really take a deep dive, look into them. And then you want to compare them to best practices. Learn from other people's routines. What are they doing that works, that are successful? And adopt those proven strategies. And you want to make sure you're always adapting and innovating stuff. That, what you do in January may be different in June. It's cold outside in some places. Running outside in January in some places not as good as running outside in June. But in some places, running outside in June is not that great as it would be in January because it's too hot. So you got to adapt and change things. But then you also want to look at those tools and techniques. You want to look for performance analysis software. Again, those apps where you can track whether you've done your habits or not and see whether you're doing them. And maybe look for some self-reflection stuff that you can use, like journaling and things. Maybe have some mentoring or peers that can look at things. And look at how you apply these things to life, implementing how you analyze your insights making sure you're always continuing to monitor and adjust. And again, I've mentioned this before, celebrate your achievements, but also learn from your mistakes. You're not going to be perfect at it. So when you're monitoring how you're doing and you're tracking this with your tools and techniques, acknowledge, hey, yeah, I missed doing this for a week, a month, however long, but I want to rededicate myself to it. This is what I learned. This is why I didn't do it. So let me move forward with it. So the first step towards improvement is understanding. So you went through all those tools, you measured it. Only when we measure and analyze can we truly optimize and grow. So unless you're looking at what you're doing, you're not going to understand why you can't improve. So you improve by measuring and analyzing. That way you can optimize and grow. So some strategies for continuous improvement is one, to identify your areas that you need to improve in by analyzing your existing processes and habits and pinpoint what needs to be growing. Set those measurable goals using that SMART method that we talked about at the end and make sure they align with your overall values and purpose. Implement an action plan. Break down those goals into smaller, achievable things. Utilize some tools that can help you achieve those things, something that can remind you to do things like that. Monitor and review your progress regularly. Set up something, that weekly review process at the beginning of the way. Make sure you're celebrating things that are happening. Leverage technology. I use lots of tools on my phone to tell me when to do things. Go in and check off things that tell me I've done it. I even use a paper journal for certain things. And embrace a growth mindset. That's basically, foster a way to learn and develop and experiment with things. Learning from your failures. Just commit to ongoing personal and professional growth as you do things. And remember, improvement is not a destination, but a continuous journey. It's about setting the stage for constant growth and building the resilience to adapt and innovate. Without you constantly trying to improve, it just won't happen. Any questions? No. Okay, last section. So backup and recovery, handling failures and setbacks. There's always going to be failures and setbacks. We always face them in our personal lives and even in our careers. Who hasn't had a database go down and get corrupt and you have to fix things, or made a mistake and you've had to own up to it. So there's we have the importance of, we need to make a backup plan or strategies to fall back on when things don't go as planned. So let's look at some ways that we can build this into our life. So the importance of having a backup in life. So what is a backup in life? A life backup is a pre-planned approach basically to having a set of strategies to managing unexpected events or setbacks in life. It's kind of like, data backup and technology ensures continuity and recovery. A backup in life can, make sure, you know, you have a way to navigate things when they happen. It's like having an emergency fund for your finances, for example. If things were you were to lose your job, you would make sure you had a 6-month emergency fund to make sure things happen. So why would you have a backup? One is to make sure you enhance your resilience, to make sure you could bounce back. Um, it reduces stress during tough times. I mean, if you have that emergency fund when you get laid off from a job, you're not as stressed out about trying to find a job. You don't have to take a job you probably don't really want. It allows for a quicker return to normalcy because you're not as stressed out. You can find a job you like and you don't have to go out and take something you don't want. And you're more stressed out over time. So those type of things are very helpful when you have those backups. So what types of backups could you have in life? So one, like emotional backup. One is like having support systems, like friends and families, or mentors, people that can back you up if something's going on in life. You want people to help you out. In that financial backup, having savings, investments, insurance, health insurance is a backup, life insurance, car insurance, uh, homeowners insurance, rent insurance, career backup, having additional skills, learning stuff that's not just a database, or learning the cloud now if you're on prem, or learning a different part of something. Networking with people, so you have additional people to rely on if something happens, or looking at alternate career paths, different things like that. A health backup, doing your regular checkups at the doctor, having a healthy lifestyle, making sure you do have health insurance. But these are all different things you can have to make sure you have safety nets that make a difference if you have a minor hiccup or a major crisis in life. As Benjamin Franklin said, by failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail. That's kind of scary. So, so by creating your backup plan, first thing you got to do is identify areas where you're vulnerable. Develop strategies tailored to those areas. So everybody's going to be different about what they need. So you're going to have to develop it based on what you need. What one person needs financially is different from what another person needs. What one person needs health wise is different from another person. But you also have to regularly review and adapt those because things change over time. So you need to make sure what you need financially may change from year to year. I mean, you may have a spouse that works now that doesn't work later, or incomes change, bills change. You may be taking care of your parents now, but not later. You may end up adding a kid to the house, so forth and so forth. So how do we go about navigating, failures, strategies for handling failures? First, you got to understand them. You got to recognize the failures are a natural part first of growth and learning. They're not a dead end. They're not the end of the world, basically. So some common life back failures, one career changes can affect you. I mean, if you lose a job, that hurts. Financial losses, the stock market goes, or your stock goes, that you personally have. Health issues, going through those type of things are really tough. Relationship challenge. But the resilience approach to this is one, identify the setback, assess what went wrong without dwelling on it. Worst thing you can do really is dwell on it. It's hard to do sometimes, not dwell on things because, things get. And analyze and learn. What could be learned from the situations? What could be done differently next time? And then one of the things I do is I seek out support if needed. I have friends, family, and professionals who can provide assistance and encouragement and help me figure out what I need to do to help me get past my failures or just things that happen in life, the setbacks. And then after that, I go about creating a recovery plan. I establish a set my plan to help me recover from the setback. What can I do to change what happened? What can I do to recover from whatever's happened? And I stay flexible, or try to anyways, and adapt to new information that comes in or things that are changing as they come in, because things don't always stay the way they are. And again, as things change, I try to celebrate my success as they come in, because sometimes, that is the hardest thing to remember when you're going through a hardship or a failure is to, celebrate your wins, because things are hard at that time. So setbacks are just learning experiences, pushing us closer to our goals. So understanding resilience a little bit, in our lives, things don't go as planned. Setbacks and failures are natural, but how we handle them truly defines our character and future success. So some strategies to building resilience is one to, take a minute to reflect and learn on them when after they happen, probably not during it, because, you're going to be a little emotional and a little off kilter from them. But embrace the adaptability when it comes to them. You got to pivot basically when things happen, and learn to support yourself from those things. And the seeking support is really important. A lot of times, people don't like to reach out to other people. They like to hold things in and not go to other people for things, and like to be their own little island and feel like they're bugging other people if they ask for help. But that's not true. People like to support their friends and like to be there for people. And reaffirm what your goals actually were and make sure that you stick to them. If it's still a goal of yours, there's no reason to give up on it. You may have to set it aside for now because of a hardship or a failure that's going on. But if it's related directly to a goal, you may just have to pivot a little bit and get there a different way. But invest in self care as well. If you're going to bits, I'm doing a 100-minute session on self care with Kelly and Eugene, and there's someone else doing a session on self care. I think Matt Gordon. So you should check those out. But you definitely need to invest in self care and take care of yourself during any failure or setback that's occurring. But some tools for recovery during this time are meditation and mindfulness. Just taking the time to center yourself and be with yourself and let your mind be quiet. Manage your time. Don't let everything get chaotic and things spiral out of control and you don't have time for yourself or time to take care of other people or time to take care of yourself. You may need professional help. Therapy is not the end of the world. I personally like therapy or any other help you may need. And the benefits of resilience are you can just bounce back from things. I've had lots of setbacks in life, as we say. My mental health, for example, has always been something that precariously sets me back on goals. And I just have to, jump in there, seek my professional help, manage my time better, make sure I have the time to do self care. And I go into my meditation, my mindfulness in the morning and at night and try to recenter myself and make sure that I am where I need to be so that I can refocus on my goals and make sure that I'm doing things I need to do goal wise, but I'm not doing too much. And and I get there. And another example is when I was training for my 5Ks and half marathons, sometimes I skip days, lots of days, running, lots of days. So I built in like a 3 week buffer on my training plan so that I didn't have to like train every single day and I didn't have to like if I skipped weeks, it wasn't the end of the world. And I could still run the half marathon at the end. So it's like there was no way I was gonna do it in 10 weeks. So I took like 13 weeks to do the training plan. But another thing people say is like transfer your failures into opportunities, like make lemonade out of lemons, as they say. So one, you want to identify your issues, understand what went wrong and why, but don't place blame or judgment on anybody or anything. Accept and reflect. Just accept the situation and learn from the experience. Develop your recovery plan. Take those actions and move forward. Make short-term adjustments. What can be done now to fix it? And develop your long-term strategies so that when future things that are similar come up, you know how to handle it. And again, utilize that support system. Reaffirm your goals and values. Reconnect with your core values. Make sure everything still aligns. you know, I always mention celebrate success and consider your backup options. Have a plan B that is flexible to adapt to changes. That's always a good thing to have. And lastly, stay positive and resilient. Cultivate a growth mindset and view your setbacks as learning opportunities. So we're at the end. Shut down in Q&A. So basically, you know, I don't really have much for a conclusion. So in the database of life, how are you choosing to write your queries? So basically, this whole thing was based on the Atomic Habits book. I do have a worksheet that worksheets you can download with the presentation slides. I will get those uploaded to my website, databasesuperhero.com. You can go to the presentations tab. I will get those uploaded today sometime. Um, and that's his book. You can go download it at his website. He's actually got resources you can sign up from there. So party thought is select your goals wisely, insert the habits that lead to success, and query your progress regularly. I will leave you with a thank you slide, and there's my Twitter, my website, my email, and then open it up for questions again.
Thanks, Tracy. Excellent presentation and such a right timing
Finished it in an
to
hour.
hear about habits in January. Okay, so I don't see any questions so far. There are all like fun and great comments about everybody's enjoying the presentation. Okay, so one question along with a lot of appreciation. So I'll just stick with the question side. How do you squeeze it into life with the data community help, supporting the foster children and everything? So can Atomic Habit empower busy DBAs to consider opportunities to help children in need?
Well, it can free up time, I think, having habits to do other things. Because it frees up mental space for me to spend time making decisions. It's kind of like, Zuckerberg and Steve Jobs with not picking their shirts. They wear the same shirt everywhere. I don't pick my shirts either, by the way. I just pick whatever's on top. That's how I pick my clothes, because it's one less thing I got to do. I don't have to worry about something, and I just pick whatever's on top. When I fold my clothes, I put them on the bottom. My shirt's on the bottom, and then whatever happens to be on top is what I wear that day. And my socks don't match. Sorry, they just whatever. They're the same. They're the same brand and stuff. They're just different colors. But I just don't make little decisions like that. I don't spend space on, so I can do that, and it can free your time up to do some things. I say I find time to do it with fairy dust, because I don't think anybody can find enough time to do all the stuff I do based on my bio slide. And people tell me I need to cut back on all my volunteer work. I am advocating for 10 kids right now, Peter, and I have to be in 8 different locations across our state right now. I happen to know Peter is in my state, so yeah. See, look, he spent 10 minutes finding matching socks. See, that was 10 minutes of wasted time.
Yeah, there's one more very interesting question. Uh, there is, okay, this is always the hardest part for me. One second, somebody, I see the question scroll up, so give me a second. Yeah. This is always the hardest part for me. How do you choose a good reward for something that is a boring or difficult habit to build? I love this question. I have same question actually.
That is difficult. So the best thing you do, one, is either to Google or use ChatGPT to get a list of rewards. Or just think of all the rewards that you like and put the best reward to the worst habit that you don't like. I mean, it's hard to think of rewards. Yeah, ice cream's the best reward, I think. But you don't want to put that with the exercise, because then it defeats the purpose of exercise. But I do like ice cream. But yeah, I mean, make a list of all the things you want for an award, and sometimes you just gotta come up with small things that you can do for an award that you wouldn't think of as typically an award. So I've had to cheat and use the internet to come up with awards, because I can't think of things. It's like, huh, what do I want for an award? Right now I'm IoT in my house, so my awards are new gadgets. So I'm using Home Assistant and my Raspberry Pi to stick fancy stuff in my house. So it's like when I do something fun or good, I can buy something fun. I don't know if anybody else wants to do something like that, but hey, that means I get to spend money, which might not be a good thing if I had a financial goal.